Welcome to The Stacks, a podcast about books and the people who read them. I'm your host, Tracy Thomas, and today we are speaking with Elamin Abdelmahmoud, the Toronto-based Sudanese-Canadian writer, cultural and political commentator, and the host of the podcast's Pop Chat and Podcast Playlist. Elamin's new book is called Son of Elsewhere, a memoir in pieces, and it's about his coming of age in a place he likes to call elsewhere. Today, we talk about how Elamin became Black, his relationship to music, and the politics of problematic favorites. Our book club pick for July is Season of Migration to the North by Tayeb Salih. We will be discussing the book on July 27th when Elamin Abdelmahmoud returns. Quick reminder, everything we talk about on each episode of The Stacks can be found in the link in the show notes. If you love this show and want more of it, head to patreon.com/thestacks to join the Stacks Pack. We've got bonus episodes, a super active Discord community, monthly book club meetups, and a lot more. It's also a great way for you to show your support for the work we do on this independent podcast. Head to patreon.com/thestacks to join. And now it's time for my conversation with Elamin Abdelmahmoud. All right, everybody, I'm so excited today. I am joined by Elamin Abdelmahmoud, who is the author of Son of Elsewhere. He's a podcaster, he's a BuzzFeeder, he's a writer, generally a human. Elamin, welcome to The Stacks.
I love being introduced as generally a human. That is true. That's a big fact. That's a significant part of my identity. I would say probably the majority of my identity is just that. But yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the majority. For me, the majority of your identity is author of Son of Elsewhere, because that's what we're here to talk about. But
yes, that's fair. That's fair. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited you're here. I have to tell you a quick story about how this happened, basically. I started reading your book, and a friend of mine had mentioned how much they loved Season of Migration to the North. And as I was reading like your first or second essay, it is mentioned in the book. And I was like, oh my God, this is the sign. I have to read the book. And then as I kept reading your book, I was like, oh my God, I love this guy. Maybe he'll come and talk with me about this book.
Of course.
And I'm so excited because we'll get to this next time, but you're going to have to do a lot of helping me understand what the fuck I read in that book.
We can do it together.
So just so you know, you're about to become not just generally a human, but also generally a teacher, a literature teacher.
I don't know if I can do that, but I'm going to do my best.
I think you can.
That's the part we're going to try it. We're going to figure it out together.
Yeah. But before we get to that, let's talk about you. Elamin, why don't you tell the people a little bit about you that fills in the sort of generally a human gap that I left wide open?
I think you covered most of it, to be honest with you. So I'm a culture writer for BuzzFeed News. That's what I do for a living. I host a pop culture show for CBC here in Canada called Pop Chat. It's sort of like a weekly pop culture show where we talk about the biggest story in pop culture that week. I'm a father of a 5-year-old. I am generally a human. I am someone who has a really hard time leaving the house without like a new playlist arranged. And so when I say that I'm like 20 minutes late to something, it's usually because I spent 15 minutes of it trying to make the perfect playlist, That's me. That's me in a nutshell. I can't drive a 15-minute drive without making a brand new playlist and be like, what are the songs that I need for exactly this drive? That's me.
Oh my gosh. Okay. What I think is fantastic about you is that if I was going to describe your book, I would mention basically zero of those things, because the way that it's pitched is it's like Sudanese immigrant to Canada, and it's like about your different identities. And I love that you didn't mention any of that, because that just means we have so much more to talk about.
We do.
I want to start with not with your book, actually. I want to start with your podcast life, because you do a pop culture podcast, a music podcast, a politics podcast that maybe you don't do anymore.
Mm-hmm.
How the fuck do you stay up on all these things? Like, when do you eat? When do you sleep? When do you relax? When do you take care of your child? When do you spend time with your lovely wife, Emily, who we get to meet in the book, who we all love very much?
Honestly, pop culture parts are woven into all these things, you know? Like so much of me listening to new music is me reacting to it in the car while my daughter is in the car also. And she's like, what are we listening to? And why is this not the Encanto soundtrack? Which, fair enough, you know? She has notes often. I would say that like the majority of my time, I'm lucky enough to sort of be paid for a living to listen to and engage with new pop culture. And so I spend a lot of time doing that. I spend a lot of time thinking about new music, thinking about new films or TV shows that have come out. That's what I do. That's what I get to do for a living. Like my boss is like, hey, this is a part of your job. Go do that. And so that allows me a lot of time to just take in a lot of new information and then process it and go, oh, yes, this is something I want to engage with.
Yeah. I don't ever have time for pop culture things because I have to read things. And my biggest regret in life is that I didn't make a podcast about like snacks because that's my favorite thing. And then I could just eat snacks all the time and not spend hours reading. Though reading is my second favorite thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I want to ask you about Elsewhere, which is, you know, the title of your book, Son of Elsewhere. You start the book there. You sort of explain it. Can you explain to the listeners sort of the framing of this idea of Elsewhere, what it is, maybe where it is, how it came to you? Like, just, I loved reading about it. So I want you to share with the peeps.
I think for me, Elsewhere is about balance. Like it's about the tug and pull of allocating, you know, certain parts of your identity to different parts of where you come from. And so I was born in Sudan. I moved to Canada when I was 12. For some time, I sort of spent a lot of energy and brain just power dedicated to being like, am I more from there or more from here? And what is this in between space? And the kind of bouncing back and forth and bouncing back and forth. And I wanted to own the space in the middle. I wanted to own the bouncing, the sort of rattling, this idea of, yeah, actually more often than not, I'm being jostled from one place to the other, but I don't have to think of either one of them as home. I can think of the jostling as home. I can sort of be okay with understanding that I'm constantly going to be pulled back and forth. And that's Elsewhere. Elsewhere is this tension that you hold when you are like, you know, I'm feeling pretty Canadian today. And then you like see one thing that reminds you of Sudan and you kind of go like, whoa, I don't know where I'm from. I completely, you know, sort of feel lost and everywhere else. I see all the time, for example, people have like tattoos of words that they can't say, you know, but they know that like this means something to their family or their parents. That's Elsewhere to me. That's a place that you're like, I want to have a relationship with this place, but I don't know what kind of relationship it is. And like, that's living in between, you know?
Do you think that it's exclusive to immigrants or people who are children of like recent immigrants? Or do you think that it can be elsewhere for other types of identities?
I don't think it's exclusive at all. I think it's sometimes there are two identities that demand your attention and they can be competing or they can be contradictory. And you kind of feel yourself being suspended between the two of them. I recently talked to someone who was like, you know, I grew up in this like small town and we were not particularly like wealthy, but now I'm someone who, A, I have money, and B, I exist in a world where we have a lot of cultural power. Like he gets a lot of influence in terms of getting to shape politics. And he's like, I no longer belong in my hometown, but I absolutely don't feel like I belong in this like world of like rich, powerful people that I sort of exist in all the time. I feel very much my hometown when I'm with these people, and I feel very much of these people when I'm in my hometown. And I think that is its own version of Elsewhere. I think like there's many ways for you to be pulled back and forth in those ways.
Yeah.
For me, this is how it manifested itself, but I think other people can have lots of different elsewheres.
Well, I related to Elsewhere, but I was like, maybe I'm just being selfish and projecting myself onto someone else's story.
No, it's like an invitation for you to project yourself onto it. I hope that you did. Thank you for projecting yourself onto it.
Yeah, I did. It's really my thing is to make everything about me. So I did that naturally. I do that naturally.
Strong play. Same. Yeah.
But I feel like, I mean, you sort of talk about it, about like when you came to to Canada, all of a sudden you were Black. And I was thinking a lot about what it means to be American and what it means to be Black, and like that there is that elsewhere in between those things as well. You know, we're recording this on Juneteenth observed in America, but this will be airing the week of 4th of July, which is my favorite holiday. but there's a big elsewhere in there.
Ooh, do you want to talk about that? Do you want to talk about why the 4th of July is your favorite holiday? Because I'm like,
Yeah.
now we're going to make the rest of the podcast about this. Like, this
About
is what
me.
the show's about now.
See, we're making it about me. I told you I'm very good at this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
I will tell you why 4th of July is my favorite holiday. I love the summer.
Mhm.
I love any holiday that has no presents. I love outdoors. I love a barbecue. I love a cocktail. I especially love like a summer cocktail moment. And before I understood history, I liked that it was like this national thing that everyone loved.
Yeah.
And it was always like a good hang holiday. Sometimes we'd go to the lake. It was summer vacation. Like, it's hot dogs. It's just like a fun thing.
Yeah.
Then you read history, and then you remember that you're Black, and then you remember elsewhere.
Right. It gets complicated for you later.
Yeah. So like I love 4th of July. I love like that day as a holiday, and like we always have a barbecue and all that stuff. But now I've like stopped wearing red, white, and blue on 4th of July. Like
do you think
it
it'll
just
ever go
feels
back
different.
though? Like, do you think it'll ever be like, you know what, 4th of July can be its own meaning to me, and I want to wear red, white, and blue on this holiday? Because I think like some people do find their ways back and be like, I get that this is complicated, but also this is mine, you know? And I don't know if you're anywhere near there.
I don't know, because America obviously was horrible to Black people in 1776 when the holiday started, but also like things are still really bad. And so it feels, and like, you know about politics, but I'm assuming it's mostly Canadian, is like, that's what you write about. That's where you are. But, you know, I'm sure you've heard of MAGA and January 6th and these things.
Yes.
And I feel like it's a holiday that those people love. And so wearing red, white, and blue feels like a different horrible thing.
Sure.
It doesn't just feel like I'm wearing red, white, and blue because that's the colors of our flag. Because if it was just that, I could do it. But right now, it just feels like I don't want anyone to think that I think it's okay to be American broadly because of how horrible the other people in red, white, and blue today are.
No, I think like that's
So,
that's the complicating thing about nationalism in general and flags right now. You know, like we're having a similar moment in this country. You know, there was this really big story in February where like a trucker convoy took over our capital.
Of course.
But they took over the Capitol and they just had a bunch of flags as being like, we're about this. And I think like there's something that's like a little bit confusing when the rest of the country doesn't have a very intense relationship with nationalism. So you're like, yeah, the flag is nice and great. And so it's weird to see a symbol that you associate with just like the everyday end up being used in this like very different way. And so I think a lot of people are reconfiguring their relationship to the flag. And it's strange, you know, it's strange to see something that they've thought about in one way their whole life suddenly be reframed. And like that's its own version of elsewhere, you know, you're like, I love this flag, but I also don't want to love it in the way that these people love it. How can I not be a part of that, you know?
Right. No, totally. I mean, I think I'm going to ask you about this later, like your favorite problematic book, but mine is, I tell everyone this, it's Gone with the Wind, and it's the same kind of thing. I love the book, I love the movie, but there are people who love it in a way that are diametrically opposed to my entire existence, and so it becomes problematic.
Yeah.
You know, and like obviously the history there is wonky and the depictions, blah, 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 but like more than anything, it's problematic to me because I don't want to be aligned with the other people who are aligned with this thing that I love.
That's true. That's gonna be a really complicated thing.
It's like you don't want to say something and then have like Tucker Carlson retweet you. You know, it's like, wait, why do we like this thing together? We hate everything. You know, it's like when I see an athlete post something and then I see some horrible right-wing person be like, this.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh no, I can't like you anymore. I hate sports.
But can I ask you, like, do you think this is a technology problem or do you think it's like the idea problem? Because in many ways, it's like liking things, we can continue to like the same things that we've always liked, but performing that liking in public seems to be much more complicated. Like, I think if I was just like having a conversation with a person, you could just explain to them the things that you like, and they're not going to be like, What are you, a crazy, raging racist? They might just be like, oh, okay, cool. You're a human being and I'm having a conversation with you in person, as opposed to endorsing it online, which feels like, okay, there's an imagined audience and then you kind of imagine the morality of that audience. And then it gets kind of like spun out to, 80 million levels. And then suddenly we're like, was the internet a mistake? Like that's where you end up. You know what I mean? Like I don't love that part. I feel really complicated about that part, to be honest.
I definitely think some of it is a technology problem. I think the 4th of July thing is not.
That's fair.
I think that's fair. Like, that feels like I would feel bad. I'm not really like publicly like I love 4th of July because of the technology part of it.
Yeah.
But I feel weird on, like, I didn't do a 4th of July party for 2 years because I felt uncomfortable.
Yeah.
With my dearest, closest friends and family. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't about like Tucker Carlson.
That's fair. That's fair.
But anyways, this is... I love 4th of July. I hope everyone who celebrates had a lovely day. This is airing like July 6th or something.
I hope you have amazing hot dogs. I want this for you. This is going to be great.
Oh, there will be hot dogs. Don't you worry. It's really the whole reason. As I mentioned, I love a snack. I love a food. A hot dog is high on the list.
Yeah.
Okay, this got really off track. But while we're talking about snacks and things, you love Pepsi.
I do. I sure do. I wrote at length about the ways that I was a very committed Pepsi person. I've changed teams. I don't want to talk about it. I will not.
You have.
I have. It's really complicated for me, man.
To Coke or to something entirely different?
Like Coke Zero specifically. It's
okay. Delicious.
It's low-key the superior product. Like I feel complicated about this, but yeah.
This is your 4th of July.
Yeah, like, look, I love Coke Zero, but I don't want to like publicly admit this to anybody in case they use it against me, But yes.
I just didn't know a Pepsi person until you. Well, that's not true. My dad really liked Pepsi. Yeah. But it's tough for me. I just don't. You liked the taste of Pepsi.
Well, okay, first of all, a few things. Let me say this. One, Pepsi in Sudan tasted different, I would say. Like, okay. And I think like this, do you ever order Mexican Coke? Is that a thing for you?
Yes. It's a different, that has real sugar in it.
That's right. So you use a sugar cane as opposed to corn syrup for sweetener. And it's way better. It's way better. And like you can taste the difference. And I think I feel the same way when it comes to Pepsi in Sudan versus Pepsi here. Like I think Pepsi here is way too sweet. But in Sudan, like I got with the stuff that I really gravitated to was just like the regular Pepsi and the way that it made me feel. I was like, this feels cool, I always say like I don't know if Coke had as big a presence in Sudan. It also helped that my uncle worked for Pepsi. And so that kind of allowed me, let's say, steady access.
Yeah. And that aunt is your favorite aunt because you got the access to the Pepsi. It was very clear that you loved your family members based on relation to Pepsi.
Yeah, an uncle who works at Pepsi, an aunt who always regularly gets me Pepsi. Like those are my people, 100%.
Yeah, I respect this. Okay, there's so many things I want to talk to you about the book. Everyone, if you haven't read the book, you have to read it because there's so much good stuff in it, and we only have so much time. But I want to talk about music because I know that you talk about music a lot in life. And when you first came to Canada, your cousin was like, Elamin, listen to hip hop, check out Nas, check out Lauryn Hill, like you'll feel seen. Yeah. And you listened and you were like, I'm sort of a square. It's a little too much swearing. It's a little too much sexy time. It's a little much for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm wondering, so in the book, you then write about nu metal, you write about country music. And I feel that people might suggest that's like white music.
They might.
They might. And I think that all music is black music, personally.
Yes. Speak
and
on
so
it.
I'm just wondering like how you feel as and I know that you like made your way back to hip hop, and I know you talk about that a little bit here and there. But I'm wondering how you feel about the erasure of blackness from the kinds of music that you did connect with. And like if you felt that you had to justify yourself, because that's another thing that you talk about is like trying to find your place as a black person in a new country when you don't feel like you're black because you weren't black when you were in the Sudan. So it's sort of, that's like a huge, weird, crazy question. Have fun with it.
I love this question. It is so crazy. But I'll start with this, is that like when I gravitated towards nu metal, It was specifically because I saw it as white. It was like, I see this as white music and I'm just going to go
Right.
towards it. And so by the time I got around to listening to country music, I didn't have any particular reservations about white versus black types of music. Like I was approaching the genre being like, this is a predominantly white form of music, but I will still engage with it anyway. And I sort of started diving into it. I think when I started diving into the history of country music is when I began to understand that so much of its history is black music, about the fact that, with the turn of the 20th century, so many of the swing bands in the South were white or black, were basically doing the same music. There wasn't a lot of difference in them. And the way that it was packaged was basically due to this one man, Ralph Peer, who saw that there was a lot of money to be made in taking all the black artists who are doing the swing dancing music and calling it race records, and taking all the white artists and calling them hillbilly. And then hillbilly eventually became country music. And country music is kind of foundational to the white mythology in America. But it still comes from a place where, this music was once borderless, was once sort of very loose, was not, like it wasn't such a rigid kind of division between the genres. Now, all of that connected to my own relationship to genre is that, like, at first, when I ran away from hip hop, it's because I come from a place that has a deep history of shadism, a place that has a deep history of colorism. When I arrived here, I was like, what do you mean we're black? Like, I don't view my skin color as black. I don't think of myself as a black person. And when I turn on the TV in the predominantly white town that I lived in, it was like, here's some iterations of what is black. And it was like, I could only see blackness on television. And it was like Ja Rule. And I was like, I want none of this. I'm going to run away from Ja. No, thank you, Ja Rule. And it scared me because I sort of grew up in this like relatively conservative upbringing. And I was like, no, like that's black music. And that's when I sort of ran away towards that white music. But then, white music, quote unquote. But now I sort of think about that as very differently, in the sense that you're absolutely right. Like, so much of the music is rooted in black music. Black music kind of gave us all of these other forms of music in general. And so I'm grateful to know more about the history. I'm grateful to spend time with the history, because it allows me to sort of unsettle my own ideas of, I was listening to white music. It's like, or was I listening to like, derivative 985,000 of the blues, essentially, which is how we eventually got to nu metal, and eventually how we got to all other kinds of music.
Right. We're around the same age, I think, because a lot of your cultural touchstones are mine too, like the OC. Remember very well where I was with that finale. Spoiler alert, R.I.P. Marissa.
Gone too soon, but also maybe not. I don't know. But
also gone very late. Took a long time. Could have done in one season. Thank you.
Yes.
So like a lot of the music, like when you were talking about the songs, I was like, holy shit, I forgot about Limp Bizkit. Because that was like very TRL, remember? You? Like, well, because like I was not listening to that. It wasn't because it was white music. It was because I really like a melody. I really like rhythm. Feel strongly about rhythm.
Expectations.
And it was, it's just not aesthetically pleasing to my ears.
That's fair. That's fair.
So the screaming, it's a lot. Okay, I'm pushing. There's a whole other conversation I want to have with you about language, but I'm going to push that to when we get to Season of Migration to the North. But the last thing I want to ask you about your book before we move on to your reading taste is about soccer or football, specifically Mo Salah and Liverpool. Go. Are you a Liverpool fan?
No, Liverpool fan would imply that it's something that I do on the side. I am professionally a supporter of the Liverpool Football Club. Everything else I do is in the service of, I guess, like eating and breathing. But the primary identity that I have is I am a I'm a devotee of the Liverpool Football Club. So fan, I think, is too casual, is too distant. So yeah, I don't, but I will accept fan as substitute for everything else that we're talking about here. But the devotion runs deep.
Do you identify as a Liverpudlian?
I sure don't. Not even remotely.
Okay.
Not even spiritually. Like, not even like.
Have you been to Liverpool?
Never been to Liverpool.
Never. Okay.
Yeah.
And is your Liverpool obsession, passion, and reason for being exclusively tied to Mo Salah? Or if he leaves, are you a Man United fan all of a sudden? Are you
my
going
God,
all
can
in on
you
Crystal Palace?
imagine?
Like,
Can you
what's
imagine?
happening?
I think there is a possibility that I would become a Manchester United fan. Say, for example, I get hit by a car and I wake up and I have no idea who I am. And then the
Okay.
people who nurse me back to health, they say, "Hey, by the way, you've been a longtime supporter of Manchester United." In which case, I guess I would believe them. That's really the only circumstance I can surmise
Okay.
being
Okay.
potentially oriented towards such just a low standard team as
Okay.
Manchester United.
Okay.
But no,
I agree. I'm a City fan, so I also don't like Man United, but
You're a City fan. Oh man, I really have to leave this podcast right now. I'm really sorry. Something's
it's
just
okay.
come up.
We can be friendly. I also have I actually now despise Mo Salah, but it's not his fault at all, but I can't shake this. Okay, I'm going to tell you my crazy story.
Yeah, I'm ready. Like, I beg your pardon. Go. Yes.
So I just want to reiterate, this has nothing to do with Mo and everything to do with Mo. So you'll get it. I have 2 small children. They're 2.5-year-old twins. We were at the park one day. There was like a tunnel that my kid was crawling through. He got scared. So he sat down in the middle of the tunnel. Mm-hmm. And I let him do that because I was like, he's scared. He needs to try to like figure it out. He wasn't crying. He just was like scared.
Spooked. Yeah.
And then these older kids came through and they had just played a soccer game. They were maybe like 8 or 9. And they started coming through the tunnel. And this one little boy came up to me and was like, "You need to get him out of the tunnel." And I was like, "Okay, thank you for telling me how to parent a 7-year-old child." And it wasn't because he was worried. It was because he wanted to go through the tunnel unimpeded.
Sure.
All the kids go through. They step over my kid. It's fine. Then about 5 minutes later, this boy who was telling me what to do comes back and he steps on my kid. At which case, obviously, I get really fucking pissed. And I'm like, What are you doing? You don't step on people. And then the kid comes out. And then I go into the tunnel to get my kid, at which point my kid starts crying immediately. And I was like, okay, you could have just said, "Mommy, come get me," but it's fine, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I turned to see the kid who was telling me what to do. And he had on a fucking Mo Salah jersey.
Okay. First of all, that sounds horrific. But second of all, I feel like Mo wouldn't endorse this. He'd be like,
I don't care.
Kid.
This kid felt community with that player. He felt like, I want to wear this jersey. This guy's me. We relate. And I was like, you know what? Mo Salah is out.
By the powers invested in me as a Liverpool devotee, I excommunicate that kid from the Liverpool fandom.
Okay, I'm back in on Mo Salah. I love him for every other reason. He's so good. He's so scary. So scary.
Yes.
When he's coming down the pitch with the ball, I'm like, oh my God, stop. I'm like, there's nothing. Not even Ederson can stop this man. Like, it's terrifying.
I can't believe you invoked Ederson in this chat. I really have to go now. Unbelievable. He's my number one enemy on earth. I think there's something about watching Mo run, right? Like, this guy runs with his whole body in a way that, like, I think a lot of other footballers don't. Like, other people are like, "Oh, you're running with your feet," and I get it. But like, Mo's whole being is being kind of lurched forward in a way that is just so compelling to watch. And you're like, this guy will have no control. That's how fast he's going, but he has all the control. And it's just like, it's poetry, but in a body. It's just incredible. It's incredible to watch him play. Yeah.
He's great. I could talk soccer or football, whatever you call it. I don't know. Yeah. I think in Canada they say football.
I mean, they say soccer, but I just say football. And I figure I'll let people catch up,
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. Then we'll be right back. Valentine's Day is upon us, and I've got love on the brain. Love for books. Duh, of course. Hello. Did you forget what podcast you're listening to? I love bringing you all great reads, exclusive author interviews, and behind-the-scenes book gossip. But I can only do that with your support over on Patreon and Substack. Our Stacks Patreon community, also known as the Stacks Pack, is where you can go for book club meetups, a private, very active Discord, and a year-long mega reading challenge to help you achieve all your reading goals. Plus, you also get that monthly bonus episode. Now, over on the Substack, you can subscribe to my newsletter, Unstacked, where I keep the book conversations going. I also give you a healthy dose of sports and pop culture, definitely some hot takes happening over there. And again, that bonus episode. If you don't have a few dollars to spare, don't worry. There are free options on the Substack and the Patreon to get you a little extra stacks magic. Making this podcast is a total team effort, and by supporting my Patreon and my Substack, you allow me to support my amazing team that makes the show possible every single week. So if you or your friends are looking to meet other book lovers and support this indie podcast, come hang out with me on Patreon, Substack, or both. I would love to have you. And since we're talking about love, you can gift subscriptions to the Patreon and the Substack for that special reader in your life. For the Stacks Pack, head to patreon.com/thestacks. And for the newsletter, head to tracythomas.substack.com. And also, there are links to both in the show notes. Okay, see you in the stacks. Okay, we're back. I didn't prep you for this, but every month we do this thing where someone writes in, they're asking for a book recommendation. We're going to read what they asked for, and then we're going to give them a recommendation.
Oh boy.
You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, this comes from Shannon. Shannon says, oh, this is nice. Shannon says a nice thing at the beginning. Okay. All of the gratitude and thanks to all that you do and all that you suggest. I read mostly nonfiction and am obsessed with cults, diverse religions, alternative thought lifestyles, memoirs, mental health, and true crime. Yep, it gets weird. My top reads include Crying in H Mart, We Keep the Dead Close, Leaving Isn't the Hardest Thing, Hidden Valley Road, The Only Plane in the Sky, and Life Undercover. I'm looking for some deep dives to keep my wheels turning and occupied during this stressful reintegration of life that we're all facing.
Ooh.
I can go first. I'm going to give her 3. You can just come up with 1, but if more than 1 come to you, that's great too.
Okay.
Okay, Shannon, my first one should come as 0% surprise to anyone who listens to this show. It's one of my favorite books. It's called 1,000 Lives. It's by Julia Shearers, and it's about the Jonestown community, People's Temple, et cetera, et cetera. It's fucking phenomenal. The book is focused on the people of the People's Temple and not of Jim Jones, but you get more than your fair share of Jim Jones, don't worry. My second one is Going Clear by Lawrence Wright, which is about Scientology. It's really good. It's really well written. He wrote the book, The Looming Tower, about 9/11 and the investigation, et cetera, et cetera. He's a very well liked journalist. And then my last one is Memorial Drive by Natasha Trethewey. And she was the Poet Laureate of America. It's her memoir about the murder of her mother by her stepfather.
Oh my God.
It's very short. Yeah. It's very intense.
Okay.
It's so well written. So those are my 3. Elamin, what do you got?
Oh boy. Okay. I'm interpreting the way that ask was put as you like to be immersed in worlds, real life worlds that are just really colorfully rendered. And so let me recommend to you, let's say Champagne Supernovas, which is a book by Maureen Callahan. I can't remember her last name, but it's a book about Kate Moss and Alexander McQueen and Marc Jacobs, and that very specific like mid 90s fashion moment that sort of gave us everything that we sort of think about the 90s now. And it's like so beautifully written in the ways that it kind of captures exactly what the 90s was, but also that these were just like a bunch of children who didn't know what they were doing when they kind of basically created the culture, you know? And so there's something really compelling about how deeply plopped into that world you are, you know? Is that like, you kind of go like, wow, Alexander McQueen was just like making it up as he went along. And then now he's like, oh, here's like this genius. And so Champagne Supernovas, I highly, highly recommend it. I think like the subtitle is like The Renegades Who Made the 90s or something. I'm trying to remember it, but it's so, so good.
Okay, we'll link to that in the show notes. So the author will be there too.
Then the other one is, it's called Where the Devil Don't Stay. And this is related to country music. Because it's a history of the band the Drive-By Truckers, who are just like a deeply influential sort of alt country kind of band. Like they do country sort of rock and roll kind of thing. Where the Devil Don't Stay, and it's by Stephen something. I can't remember his name, but
don't worry, we're gonna link to it, so it'll be there for people.
But so someone who like became like really, really popular after he left the Drive-By Truckers is this guy named Jason Isbell. And he does sort of deeply, like, incredible Americana kind of music. His songwriting to me is like unparalleled. He's just one of the best songwriters in America right now. And I think like getting a sense of like, here's this band and here's the ways that they have to rough it in the sort of early aughts in order to get through their career. You're just so deeply plopped into this world. I highly recommend that. And then by way of memoir, why don't I throw in Rachel Cusk's Coventry, which is a banger. Just an incredible account of parenting, marriage, her relationship to her parents. Rachel Cusk, anything, of course, but Rachel Cusk nonfiction is just like truly underrated to me, mostly because people want to talk about the fiction because it's so good. So Coventry is the one I'd recommend.
Love it. Love it. Shannon, if you read any of these, you have to let us know what you thought. And everyone else, email askthestacks@thestackspodcast.com to get your book recommendation read on air.
Yes.
Okay. Yay. This is my favorite part. We get to talk about your taste in books. 2 books you love, 1 book you hate.
I'm not very good at hating things. Like, I don't know if that's...
I hate when people do this to me. Just fucking pick a book you don't like.
There's not a lot. That doesn't happen to me. I'm also like, I'm not. Are you a completist? Are you someone who's like, I don't like this book. No. I'm going to dip out. Okay, yeah. Same.
No, but if I don't like a book enough, I will finish it just so I can know all the things there are to dislike because I am petty, even with strangers' books.
I don't have that. I don't have that muscle.
Okay.
2 books I love. Let me give you Home is Not a Country, which is a novel in verse by Safi Al-Hillo. She's a Sudanese-American writer. She's incredible. And there's something about her prose that is just so like shocking to me as someone who's like constantly looking for echoes of Sudan in the ways that people move or ways that people carry themselves. So Home is Not a Country. Highly recommend that. Let's do another novel in verse.
Okay.
Noor Naga, and her book is Wash's Praise, and it's a very short novel in verse that is just like a deeply compelling meditation on faith and the ways that it could really mess you up, and the ways that it could really sort of pull you back together. And I don't want to spoil too much of that plot.
Don't spoil anything.
And in fact, I will spoil nothing at all. Yeah, and. A book I hate. I don't have one. I really don't have one. I'm not good at this.
Okay, what about a book that you put down because you really didn't like it so far?
My brain doesn't have that kind of space to like retain.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
No, but what I like about this is
are you not like a grudge person?
No. What is there to be grudging about? What's a
funny story later in life, like about that kid? I remember every detail of that little Mo Salah kid because I'm going to tell that story for the rest of my life at every soccer event I go to.
I don't have that. I wish I had that muscle, but I don't have that muscle. Like, I don't have the muscle that's like, I'm going to remember this and the way that I'm mad about it because it should live in my brain so that I can recall it later. I just don't. I don't have it. I wish I did. Sometimes I really wish you're like, I have been afflicted with this.
I have enough for both of us, probably.
I'm glad.
90% of my personality. I'm 90% grudge and 10% snacks. And that's it. That's me.
Incredible. That's beautiful.
Diet Coke specifically, and hot dogs. Okay. What's the last really great book you read?
Last great book I read. I just got the advanced reading copy for this book called Rap Capital, an Atlanta story. It's by Joe Coscarelli, who's a New York Times music reporter. And he wrote this like thick ass book about how Atlanta became the center of hip hop because I don't know, like, are you a big hip hop person? Yes. No?
I am, but I don't agree with that assessment.
Well, I think I agree with it.
I'm from California, though, so there's like a lot of opinions about, regionally hip hop and what is the center of hip hop. I'm not a huge hip hop person, but I'm into hip hop.
But I think there's something compelling about that, right? There's something compelling about we are in such like a big Atlanta moment right now.
Yeah.
And that feels surprising to so many people. Like if you think about like the great centers of hip hop and like, sure, New York, absolutely California. But then like as hip hop kind of like shifts around in a bunch of different places, like weirdly we were like in a big Houston moment, in like the early 2000s. But then we kind of just shifted gears, and now we're in Atlanta with like Young Thug or like Lil Baby or like Migos, and the Atlanta sound more than anything else is like the predominant kind of hip hop sound of the
Right.
moment. And maybe people are mad about this, but I think like that wasn't going to be taken for granted, I think, by anyone who's in Atlanta, especially like when you think about, I don't know if you remember like the moment where Outkast like won the award and they got up and they're like, the South got something to say.
Something to say.
Yeah. Because like the South was for the longest time kind of treated as like an afterthought when it comes to hip hop.
Right.
And then suddenly you have hip hop kind of come to the middle, come to the fore, Atlanta come to the fore as hip hop is becoming the most predominant form of popular music that we have. And so Joe Coscarelli kind of like traces the rise of both of those things. And also like not an insignificant amount about Drake and the way that he sort of shapeshifts from like borrowing from Houston and borrowing from Atlanta and borrowing from lots of different places to become, you know, the most popular rapper on earth, largely because he is so chameleonic in the ways that he kind of approaches hip hop.
Speaking of Drake, he just released a new album.
He did.
Any thoughts?
I'm into it, but I've been waiting for Drake to shift gears for some time. Like I was bored by the last album. I was like, Drake, this is enough of this. We get it. You're lonely and it's hard. And like, who cares? Who cares, man? Like we get it. Your fellas will ride with you wherever you go. Who gives a shit? Can you please figure out like a different mode of being as an artist? And I think it's actually genuinely hard if you're Drake, to shift gears and shift like people's perception of you, except when you drop an album out of nowhere that's like a full-on house record and people are like, what do I do with this? And I'm like, oh, wow. I've been surprised by Drake precisely at a moment when I thought he was incapable of ever again surprising me. And so I'm on board if purely for the reason of listening to it, be like, huh. This is a whole different way of being for Drake. I'm like, that sounds exciting to me. So I'm on board. I'm on board.
Okay. I'll take it. I'll allow that.
What about you? Are you anti? I'm picking up an energy.
No, I'm not.
Like, do you hate it?
I'm not anti. No, I just don't think it's that good of an album personally. Like it's just like sort of like, I think I told you this before, but I used to teach spin. So I listened to a lot of music like that, like that has that sound and like long songs that have that driving beat. And like, they're just not particularly good to me for what they are.
Yeah.
I do think that part of the issue with Drake, which is a little bit to what you were speaking to, is like Drake hasn't really been a hip hop artist for a long time. And I think he's always sort of been a pop artist. And I think that if people thought about him more as pop and less as hip hop, which of course has a lot to do with racism and the ways that Black people are pigeonholed in certain genres. So I don't think it's Drake's fault necessarily, but I've always thought of him as a pop person since after his first album, basically. Like, he makes pop music. And his first album is pop, too. And also, like, you can make the argument that a lot of hip-hop and rap is pop music.
Yeah.
But I just think, like, this album makes a lot more sense in the line of a pop artist than it does in the line of, like, a hip-hop artist.
But, like, that's what's kind of interesting to me about Drake is that, like, he is a product of hip hop kind of dethroning every other kind of type of music at the top of the pop food chain, right? Like you don't get a Drake unless you have put in the hours to be like, rock can move out of the way, even just like straight up melodic pop can move out of the way, and hip hop can become like the giant machine that it is. I mean, like every once in a while you'll see an artist go to the top of the charts and you're like, I have no idea who the fuck this is. Like people woke up in the morning of like Young Boy fucking Never Broke Again was the top of the charts and people were like, who is this? How does this happen?
Well, what's a Jack Harlow? That was a surprise for me. I was like, I don't get this.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've heard a Jack Harlow until I heard is he the one who sampled Fabulous or whatever?
Yeah, First Class.
Glamorous.
Yeah, Glamorous.
Had
you
no
didn't
idea.
Hear What's Poppin'? Like that wasn't on your radar?
I might have. I just didn't know. I don't know any song names, and I don't know a lot of artist names until it gets to the Grammys, and then I'm like, isn't she so cute? Look at her in her dress. She sings that song. Like I had heard Dua Lipa for way longer than I knew who Dua Lipa was.
I can imagine.
Like I knew her music, but I could not have told you who sang a lot of those songs.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
But I do feel like you're right. Like Drake, I think Drake rode the hip hop coattails to the top, but I don't think Drake is truly a hip hop artist. To me, I think he's a pop star. And like, that's not to denigrate pop or hip hop. That's just to say that
Yeah.
he's a pop star who is influenced by hip hop music.
What is this? Have you checked your watch? Is it already gatekeeper clock? Is that where we're at? You know what I mean? Like, what is this?
No, I don't know. I don't
I'm
mean that he
kidding.
can't be a hip hop artist. I just mean
Yeah.
if people thought about, people are like, oh, what is this house music from a hip hop guy? But I'm like,
Yeah.
if you just thought about him as a pop star, it doesn't feel as hard to make the jump.
But right,
You know,
because
like
a pop artist
Madonna
can sort of
has, yeah. Exactly.
Can accompany
Like
a bunch of
Madonna has
different
like a hip
modalities.
hop album or something,
That's
you
true.
know, and it's like
That's
that's
true.
not a problem. Like Michael Jackson did rock and pop, and like if you think of these people as pop stars, I guess it's the opposite of gatekeeping. I'm saying Drake can move between these spaces, and he's not just quote
Like,
unquote
let
hip hop.
Let Drake do whatever he wants to do. Yeah.
Just let Drake be a sad boy in any genre he wants.
Oh, he will. He that
He'll find a way.
he will take that permission and he will use it over and over and over.
He will run with it. Okay, we got so off books. We're so deep into Drake.
I love it.
Drake
I love
right
it.
now.
It's great.
I'm fine with it. I mean, your fellow Canadian.
My fellow Toronto boy, 100%.
Yeah, congratulations to Drake on your new album. Wait. Speaking of hip hop, are you familiar with the new Jonathan Abrams book that's coming out called The Come Up? It's an oral history of hip hop music.
No, but that sounds delightful. I'd love that.
Yeah, it's coming out in October. I'm very excited about it.
How far does it go back? Like,
I think it's like the 50th anniversary of hip hop music is this fall or something. So I
Yeah.
think it's going to be 50 full years.
I love that. I like that's something that for me is like I would love to spend my time on that. You know, that sounds amazing.
I just got the arc and it's big. It's a big boy. It's it's large. It's large and in charge.
There's like we're in a moment of good hip hop books too, man. Like Daniel
So
Levin
many.
Becker. Daniel Levin Becker wrote this great book called "What's Good," and it's like I think the subtitle is "Notes on Rap and Language." But he's like a linguist by training, and so he spends a lot of time just like on the linguistic elements of like big hip hop songs, and he kind of breaks them down in ways that I just hadn't thought about them. So that's like it's such a good book. It's such a good book.
We've been on this show. We've been recently really into music. Sometimes like this podcast will just have a theme for a while, and
Good.
right now we're in like a black music moment. We had Danielle Smith on the show about her book Shine Bright.
Legend.
Justin Tinsley
man.
is
Yeah.
on. Yeah. About his book on Biggie. You're here, even though I didn't invite you as a music person. You are a music person, obviously.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's lots of music stuff. I'm excited about it. Okay.
Have you
What
done?
are some
Wait.
books-
Have you done?
Oh.
Have you done like musician like memoirs? Have you done like a period of that?
So in 2020, we did Marcus J. Moore's book on Kendrick Lamar, The Butterfly Effect, with Cole Kushna, another podcaster who breaks down songs and music. So he was our guest for that book club. And then we haven't actually done like a famous person's memoir. Like we haven't done Mariah Carey or Lenny Kravitz or something, but we've done a few books on music.
Okay. I mean, it's a whole genre with a lot of amazing possibilities. In that genre,
Yeah.
I'd recommend Brandi Carlile's memoir. Brandi Carlile is an artist that means a lot to me.
What if I don't know her music? Because that would be a true thing about me that I don't know her music.
I don't think you have to. I don't think it's important for you
Okay.
to know her music. I think she just has a really compelling journey. But also, I highly recommend that you get to know her music. She's incredible. And she's got a voice that's like unmatched by anyone on earth. It's incredible stuff.
Okay, I'll give it a listen. I'll give it a try.
Yes,
I'll give anything a
yes.
listen. Who knows?
Good.
Okay, what are some other books that you're looking forward to reading? They don't have to be new books. They could just be books that you've been wanting to read.
I've been subtly and then eventually unsubtly like dropping hints to my wife to be like, hey, I really want to read The Company, which is like this history of the Hudson's Bay Company, which is like an old British sort of trading corporation that then became like the Bay, which is like one of like the largest sort of retailers here in Canada. Because like the company, Hudson's Bay Company, goes back to like 1670 or something. And I'm interested in the ways that it's like interwoven with like Canadian colonialism because we are, I think, in like a really powerful moment of trying to understand colonialism in Canada, the ways that we treated Indigenous people in this country and its history. And like this book is like this like thick, long history of like, you want to know how Canada became the way that it became? Here's a corporation that just eventually got way too much political power and got a chance to like carve up so much of the country according to how it wanted to, and then like kind of like trace a line between that and the modern day. And so I'm excited to dive into that one, man, because I think I'm like in this moment, I'm like, okay, all right, give me some history books about colonialism in this country. I also got this book that's like it's like literally just a history of the Yukon gold rush, because I was like, I don't know anything about a gold rush. Can anyone fill me in? And then like this book comes along. It's called Gold Diggers, which is like not a particularly complicated name to remember. It's a book about people who dig for gold, but it's by an incredible author who has done like a lot of significant histories in this country. And so I don't know, I'm excited to dive into those, but I'm not someone who reads a lot of like historical nonfiction. So this is like new for me to be like, let's go back to the 1700s and spend some time with this. So let's go.
Okay, here's my question though. You said that you've been dropping hints to your wife that you want to read this book. Is that because you want her to get it for you, or because you want her to give you time alone with the book?
No, it's the first. I specifically want. I was saying it because like it's a big book, and I was like, I don't want to go to the bookstore and carry it all the way home. I wish it would just like manifest itself just like at home, And so for like literally for 2 weeks before Father's Day, I was like, I'm really excited for Father's Day. I hope you didn't get me anything, but most especially hope you didn't get me The Company, a history of the Hudson's Bay Company. And I think like after the 8th time, she was like, I might have to get it for him. I think he means that.
Did she get it? Did you get it?
Yeah, hell yeah, she did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like
Emily, I told you she's a lover. Oh, yes. Okay.
I'm so excited. It's great. It's going to be a good time.
Oh, my God. Okay. What's a book that you like to recommend to other people?
Ooh. A Field Guide for Getting Lost by Rebecca Solnit. It's a nonfiction. It's a collection of essays about all the different ways we can interpret the idea of getting lost. Whether it's losing yourself in another person, or the idea of being lost in a bad way. The idea of like, oh, that person doesn't know how to find their way back to themselves. There's all kinds of iterations of loss and getting lost in that book, and how sometimes it can be a beautiful thing, and sometimes how it can be such a devastating thing. I don't know if I would write without Rebecca Solnit, and I don't know if I would write without A Field Guide to Getting Lost. So I would say that one. Shout out Rebecca Solnit. I think another one, if I were to recommend two, would be maybe They Can't Kill Us Until They Kill Us by Hanif Abdurraqib. Yes. No one writes like Hanif, man. Nobody writes about music like Hanif. Nobody writes about anything like Hanif. So those are the two.
We've done his book on the show. We did
A Little Devil?
Yeah, I was going to call it Notes on Performance. I was like, that is the worst title, and Hanif would kill me if he thought that I thought that's as creative as he could get. Notes on Performance. Yeah, we did A Little Devil on the show, and it was a dream. It was one of my favorite books of last year. Actually, part of the reason I picked up your book out of all the stacks is because he had blurbed it, and it's on the cover. And I was like, well, if Hanif signs off, he's got fantastic taste, and he doesn't blurb that much.
No, he really doesn't. I was really, really grateful for his generous words, man. That was really kind of him, for sure.
Okay. Do you have a favorite bookstore?
I have a few, but let's go with like they're all in Toronto, so like they're all they're all sort of like local shout out Toronto bookstores. But I think let me go with Another Story. Another Story is like a beautifully curated bookshop that, as you kind of walk into it, you're like, all these books could be home. Type Books, which now have like multiple locations, and I'm really happy for them. But like Type Books on Queen Street in downtown Toronto, like that's the one, Yeah. That's the one where like you kind of like go in and you're like, I'm gonna unearth a treasure today, and then you do, and then you're like, this is what a bookstore is supposed to feel like. So those are the two.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, what's the last book that made you laugh?
I would say Rap Capital, that Joe Coscarelli book that we were talking about. Because Atlanta can be heartbreaking, but also it can be really, really funny. Like there's some incredible characters in that book. You're like, what the hell's going on here? I love to meet these people. It's great.
Last book that made you cry?
Rachel Cusk, but second place, her most recent novel. There are some genuinely heartbreaking turns in that book.
Last book that made you angry?
I don't get angry, man. Tracy, come on. You know, we talked about that.
I'm getting angry.
You're getting angry. Yeah. But like, that sounds like it happens often. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
It's true.
Okay. There's this book that I'm reading about Kid A. Are you a Radiohead person or no?
No. I like Creep. Like everyone.
I love this. I like Creep, and then it stops. Okay. So I would say like I'm a medium Radiohead person. But there's this book about Kid A, which is like their album from 2001 or 2000, I can't remember. And it's like a really divisive album because like very like intense Radiohead people are like, this is when Radiohead became Radiohead. And then others are like, I think it's just kind of a pretentious record that's not that accessible. I don't know why we're so excited about celebrating this album. And I'm reading this book by Stephen Hayden, who is firmly in the camp of this is when Radiohead became Radiohead. And it's a book about Kid A and the making of the 21st century. I think that's like the subtitle of it. And I think I got angry sometimes, not at Stephen Hayden so much as specifically at like the ways that Radiohead want you to bristle when you're listening to their music. I'm like, should music make you feel like this? Like, should we be this tense when we're listening to music? But I'm wrestling with that because I'm firmly in the camp of Kid A is like a more pretentious album than not. There are some songs that I really like on that record, but I don't think we need to like vault this into like their most perfect album. But because I think that, I'm trying to like read people who challenge my perspectives on this. And so I'm reading this book and I'm getting mad as I read it. So like maybe that, like that counts.
That counts. Yeah. That fully counts.
Tracy's like, yes, get angry. Let's see more of this anger.
This is the way I like to read. I'm like, oh, let me find someone who's totally wrong and then enjoy how much I hate them forever.
Sure, of course.
What's
totally
the last
normal thing to go to books for. I love it.
Yeah, I have a super normal reading habits. Don't worry. What's a book where you felt like you learned a lot?
Emma Healy wrote this incredible book called Best Young Woman Job Book. That's the title. I really have a hard time remembering all of it. And it's like her account of trying to make it as a writer while also working at a bookstore, while also working in a bunch of unpredictable kind of precarious gig economy works. And it was like such a pleasure to spend time with all the things I didn't expect to in that book.
Okay. I teased this way earlier. What book is your problematic favorite?
I don't know if I have a problematic favorite either.
What do you mean? You have to love something that you know is like, can't talk about that.
I think there are writers that I can't talk about anymore. But,
sure, tell me about them.
But like the books like don't. The books stand the test of time. Like I don't go to parties.
I bet they don't.
I really don't. I don't go to parties and go, man, it's complicated to talk about Norman Mailer, you know? But it is.
I read Executioner Song and it does not stand the test of time.
I haven't read Executioner Song. Is it we're not fans?
Long. Well, I don't know. I just wasn't.
All his
I mean,
books are
now
so
the way, but now the way like true crime is, it sort of is a dud. It's like a little slow.
I don't know. I literally wouldn't know because I haven't read it.
Oh.
But I guess maybe in that regard, like Norman Mailer might be my problematic fave author in that way. But like,
that's okay. Yeah, that's a good answer.
But I continue to say, like, it's not like I'm walking around and being like, yo, have you read? Because I don't, you don't go to parties and say that because like this guy, woof, real problematic, just like as a figure. And so, but like, no, there's no specific book that I'm like, let me just hide this from people.
I feel like I should put what is your problematic favorite or who, because I feel like both answers are acceptable.
You should put who.
I should update. Yeah. Okay. If you were a high school teacher, what's a book you would assign to your students?
Ooh, I love that question. Changing My Mind by Zadie Smith. I think you may have gathered that I read a lot of nonfiction. Changing My Mind is a
I love this.
is a collection of essays that Zadie Smith put out that's about just that, about, having a certain perspective and then the life experiences that made her change it. I think grown-ups, if you will, tend to present as a little bit too neat in their way they develop their takes and their opinions. And none of it was that neat. And so often we kind of go through something that makes us go, oh, I completely see this in a different light. And I think I was fortunate enough to have teachers that did that for me when I was younger. And so as a result, I would want younger people to have that demonstrated. I think she demonstrates it so beautifully in that book.
I love that. Okay. Last one, but I don't know if I have to change it because you're Canadian. So I'm going to ask it, and then you can tell me who you'd like to do it for. So the question is, if you could require the current president of the United States to read one book, what would it be? But do you want to change it and do it for JT?
My good man, JT. Can you imagine if we referred to our prime minister as JT? Can you
Well, we do here in America. We love a JT, Justin Timberlake, Justin Trudeau. Justin Tinsley. We love a Justin T.
I love that. Wow, I never thought about recommending a book for the prime minister.
Is it a prime minister or is it a prime minister?
How do you say it?
Well, I say prime minister, but you said prime minister.
I think it depends on the day for me. I don't think I'm married to a specific.
I wasn't sure. I don't know. I'm not Canadian. I don't know how you guys do things. Americans be fucking shit up all the time.
No, but I literally can't tell if it's me speaking that way because it's my second language or not. You know what I mean? It's literally
sure.
It could be that. I think I just kind of grew up talking like this because that's how we talked, but I have no idea whether that's correct or not.
Okay, well, I don't know either. So since you're the Canadian, I'm going to defer to you. I'm going to go prime minister. Prime minister.
Well, the book for the prime minister. Let me recommend a Canadian author, Cherie Dimaline. She's written some incredible works. The one I'd recommend is maybe Empire of Wild. It's a really compelling book that's about an indigenous person who sort of subtly realizes that they maybe are giving up a little bit too much of their land and the forces that come with that. Her most well-known book is The Marrow Thieves, which is like a sort of futuristic dystopian novel that people can't stop talking about. It's come out maybe 6 or 7 years ago, but people continue to love it so much. But Empire of Wild is just a little bit more intimate. It's a little bit more complicated, and it's about not just about colonialism, but also about the ways that you can sometimes maybe kind of colonize yourself, and the consequences thereof. And so maybe that would be my choice.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, Justin Trudeau, let us know what you think of our recommendation.
Let's go. I'm ready.
Everybody else, we're out of here today, but Elamin will be back on July 27th. We are discussing Season of Migration to the North. And how do I say his last name? Tayeb Saleh?
Tayeb Saleh is how I would say it. Is how I would say it. But you
say it again. How would you say it?
Tayeb Saleh.
Tayeb Saleh.
Yeah. Close enough, man. We'll take it. I love it.
We'll take it. Anyways, it's super short. It's a slim novel. It's the Sudanese novel. If you ask the people who decide these things. So yeah, we're going to discuss that on the 27th. There will be spoilers, plenty of them. So please read the book before then, and also go out and get your copy of Son of Elsewhere, which is Elamin's book, which is out in the world. Elamin, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
And everyone else, we will see you in the stacks. All right, y'all, that does it for us today. Thank you so much to Elamin for being my guest. And I'd also like to say a huge thank you to Abdi Omer and Taylor Noel for helping to make this episode possible. Reminder, the Stacks Book Club pick for July is Season of Migration to the North by Tayeb Saleh, which we will be discussing on July 27th with Elamin Abdelmahmoud. If you love the show and want inside access to it, head to patreon.com/thestacks to join the Stacks Pack. Make sure you're subscribed to the Stacks wherever you're listening to podcasts. And if you're listening through Apple Podcasts or Spotify, be sure to leave us a rating and a review. For more from The Stacks, follow us on social media at The Stacks Pod on Instagram and at The Stacks Pod _ on Twitter, and check out our website, thestackspodcast.com. This episode of The Stacks was edited by Christian Duenas with production assistance from Lauren Tyree. Our graphic designer is Robin McCrite, and our theme music is from Tagirajis. The Stacks is created and produced by me, Tracy Thomas.